if you're looking for rules on how to make informed decisions based on the data that you've collected, whether it's from evidence-based management, telemetry data, whatever your data you're collecting, you're not going to find it. You're not going to find something that you can apply everywhere. There are, in times gone by, there have been large decision-making frameworks that generally apply because we lived in a complicated world, not a complex one. So if you think about complexity theory, right? If you think about, if we understand more about a thing we're going to go do than we don't know, right? That's like playing chess. We understand more than we don't know. Then we can apply a bunch of rules. We know what the next move is, right? When you if you've ever watch a professional chess game and listen to the commentary, right? They know exactly what the next move's supposed to be. And the only time when there's, based on the set of exchanges, depending how smart the commentator is, right, how far ahead they can think, they know who's going to win. And then it's, does somebody make a mistake? That's how I think lots of modern businesses are failing. So take, for example, I'm going to use an example, non-technology example. Take, for example, logistics, right? So let's say you're a hauling company and you're going to haul stuff from A to B in trucks. So you have your drivers, you have your trucks, you need to do schedules, you need to do procurement for what goes in what truck and how it's organized in the truck and all of those kind of things. If you go buy off-the-shelf software that everybody else uses too, right? So all your competitors are using exactly the same software to manage this. Perhaps you're buying SAP, right? And then having the Polage plugin and the staff management plugin and the whatever stuff it has, right? Then your business is no longer unique, right? You're filling a known niche with a known business model that works. And then the only difference between you and your competitors is probably quality, maybe, right? Like if you're are you on time? Are you on time? Did you have the right stuff? Like the people errors, right? Are you on time at the right stuff delivered to the right place? And then you build a reputation around that. This is a good haulage company because they mostly do the right thing. This is a bad haulage company because they mostly do the bad thing, and then they'll go out of business and you'll stay in business because they mostly do the wrong thing and you mostly do the right thing. But your business models are identical. Your business practices are identical because they have to be, because you have to fit within the plugins, the business model plugins that you've brought in for SAP, right? But when we work in a world where we know less upfront than we discover by doing, right? So that's anything where we're bringing in a creative element. So software engineering being creative. Anything where there's a lot of unknowns. So a great set of this is red team thinking, which is a military tool. Red team thinking comes from the military. I don't remember if there's the US or the British military, probably the US military, but it's a military model that is applied quite heavily in the Agile space because we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about complexity. We're talking about fog. We've got this a lot of unknowns, and how do we move forward while being able to adapt to any challenges, surprises, or opportunities as we move forward and the world reveals itself, right? That's something that the military do very well, or hopefully do very well. And we need to do very well at it, because all of the stuff that we do when we're building software, because we're writing code, it's never been done before. If you're writing code that's been done before, you're doing it wrong. Stop doing that. But when you're building products that don't exist yet, then we're exploring the unknown, right? So think about when the explorers went out to go somewhere new. They didn't know what they were going to find when they get there. They didn't know what was going to happen along the way. So they had to take into account, bring all of the things they needed. Scurvy was early explorers had a lot of scurvy because they didn't have the right vitamins, right? So what they found was they could take citrus fruits, which lasted a long time in storage if you store them right, and then you can provide that to your crew, and they don't get scurvy, right? Because they get the vitamins that are missing from the normal diet. And that adaptation enabled those explorers that did that to go further, and the explorers that didn't do that all died. So which ones? The ones that came back, what did they do? They did this, right? Let's do more of that. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about Agile, right? When we talk about agility, it's about creating a system for your way of work that adapts dynamically to those changes. We have emergent, everything's emergent, right? We have emergent knowledge, we have emergent data, we have emergent customers. We don't know who our customers are yet and what they're going to want. And then we get some of those customers and we understand what they want. So we deliver something to them, but it's not quite right because they don't like what we've delivered. So we need to keep adapting, continuously evolving our product, our business, to fill a unique niche that we've created for ourselves. And then perhaps we maintain that niche, but those niches don't exist forever, right? It used to be in the old days of the Industrial Revolution, where there weren't that many textile mills, and there weren't that many textile mills within selling distance, right? Perhaps you as a tailor, and you're buying cloth, you're buying it from the local textile mill. You have no option. You're buying the bulk of your stuff from the local textile mill, and then maybe you can get some really expensive stuff from the Far East or, wherever you manage to get that really expensive stuff from. But that's not for your main clientele. Your main clientele is going to be the stuff from the factory up the road. Whereas today, you can get stuff from any factory anywhere in the world for a relatively competitive price. So that market, that niche that those factories were in is largely gone. It's not a niche anymore. There's loads of competing species within that area. Same for our companies. As competition grows, we either have to become unique in different ways, or we need to be the best in that space in order to not have any of this competition come in. And as we grow as a business, this is all part of this data-driven decision-making, right? As we grow as a business, we have a tendency to say, well, this worked one time, let's write that down, and everybody does it that way. That's bureaucracy. That's what we're fighting against with agility, because the next thing we do is slightly different. Just a little bit, but slightly different. So this is not optimal anymore, but it kind of works. But time, change after change after change after change, eventually this doesn't work anymore, but everybody in the company still does it because that's the way we do things. That's the mindset we're trying to change. We're trying to change to a mindset that we don't keep this longer than it's necessary. We don't keep this longer than it's valuable. any process or practice, we have emergent practices within our organization. Any process or practice can be dissolved at any time because it's deemed to be no longer optimal or suboptimal. This set of story should continually change. If it's not changed, why hasn't it changed? Because the world will have changed, our environment will have changed, and we need to continually adapt. And that's agile decision making, right? It's emergent. How we make decisions is emergent based on what we understand, what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve, and the results that we get based on that decision making. So you're also continuously looking at the data and analyzing your decision. Did we make the right decision? Are we continuously making the wrong decision? If we're continuously making the wrong decision, why are we continuously making the wrong decision? And what is our decision-making process? Because it needs to change because we're continually making the wrong decision. So there's not really any, there are lots of tools out there that you can use. Actually, I had a quick look for agile decision-making tools, and I found a few that I recognize that I have used in the past, but maybe not used recently, right? So Fist of Five. If you've got a group of people and you need to make a decision, Fist of Five, great way to make a decision. Is that going to last forever? Are you always going to do Fist of Five in that same group of people? Probably not, right? Because its usefulness, as you start working together for longer as a team, you maybe recognize more each other's tells, right? And then you don't need that mechanism anymore. So stop doing it. If it's not adding value, stop doing it. If anything in your business is no longer adding value or it's actively inhibiting value, stop doing it and do something different, right? I see this in organization after organization where they have a departmental model, and some department has decided that you can't do a thing in an organization, and that thing that you can't do inhibits all of this value over here. It either makes it slower, it makes it harder for us to take advantage of opportunities, it just makes it too hard to do business. So the people over here stop trying to do those things because it's too hard. Usually this is security, right? And that department has forgotten that they work for the business. The business does not work for them. Their purpose for being is to protect the business, right? Perhaps that department model is a protection model, so compliance or security or those kind of things. But they're protecting the business within the context of the business actually functioning. As soon as they're inhibiting the business functioning, they're a cost, not a value. They're supposed to figure out, we need to do this. How do we do this so that you can be happy? Not, no, you can't do this, right? That's an example of that organizational cruft, right? That rust building up over time. That rust building up over time and inhibiting your ability to deliver value because you're stuck in the past. Even if the past was only 5 minutes ago, maybe you're stuck in the past. So use whatever tools make sense within the context of the decision that you're making, but always check, is that tool that we're using, so it could be Fist of Five, DACI, RACI, Decider Protocol, consent decision making, Lean Coffee, Holacracy, Delphi, right? There's a lot of dot voting, round robin, loads of different ways to do that. If we use that and we have a bad decision, or we use it in a bunch of decision making and all of those decisions ended up wrong, or the majority of those ended up wrong, then stop doing it. That's the key to this agile process, to this figuring out how to make decisions within the context. There aren't any rules for you to go look up. There aren't any known practices that always work. And that's true across all of agility and all of lean. There are certain rules that we know to be true, right? But they're not then rules; they're laws, right? Little's law is a great example of that. Queuing theory. It's true. That's how things work. So we make decisions within the context of that story. Figure out what the laws are that apply to your business, and everything else is flexible. Everything else is flexible. How you do business is flexible. How you find business, how you engage with customers is flexible. Emergent, right? How people do the work is emergent. How you engage with them, how you do everything that you do needs to be emergent, because what you want to be able to do as a business is when the market shifts or your environment changes, you need to be able to evolve, and you need to be able to evolve as quickly as possible, because you don't want to go extinct.